We're here with Marcus Parsley talking about his new release, Sunday Strolling, available on the Rondette Jazz record label. Marcus, tell us why you made this record.
You know, it's called Sunday Strolling, and that does reflect a little bit of the relaxed nature. A lot of the songs are relaxed tempos with a relaxed feel. There are moments of intensity and drama, of course, you know, that's part of music and we got to get there. But overall, I did want it to be laid back. And I wanted to have my first album as a leader not be too, not to take myself too seriously, essentially. It's a collection of mostly standards. There are 2 original songs. One of the originals, Delta Queen, was pinned in memory of a dear friend that passed away, and sort of in a more celebratory fashion, not a downer tune. It's the Delta Queen was the name. It was the pinball machine that he had, and we had some epic battles on that pinball machine, and it was a riverboat gambler themed thing. So when you hear the song, you'll get it. Done Told Ya was the other original, and that was sort of a vehicle to let some of the heavy hitters that I was lucky to have with me that day spread their wings and stretch out a little bit, you know. Yeah, mostly standards. A few of them not so, not the most mainstream standards and that you hear all the time.
Right.
But and a few of the arrangements a little bit off the wall as well. Like we treat Duke Ellington's Solitude with a little bit brighter tempo than most, and sort of inspired by McCoy Tyner's arrangement of it, although we do it quite differently still,
right.
but from a tempo perspective.
Yeah.
And then the arrangement of Change Partners is a little bit different than the norm too. I borrowed a groove from a 60s British rock band. When it was time to decide, well, do I hire a vocalist friend to come in and do this thing? And I was like, well, you know, let me see if I can hack my way through it. And it was a fun challenge. I have even more respect now for my vocalist professional friends that do it day in, day out.
Right.
Not as easy as they make it look. It's a pretty cool crew of cats. It's just, you know, another, going back to why did you make this record? You know, it was also just a chance to get together with some of my best homies and play music.
Right.
And be able to go back and listen to it one day and be like, hey, yeah, that's the Cats. Roy Dunlap is a guy I go way back with to, I don't know, 94 or something like that. We've played a lot of music together over the years in a number of styles with a number of bands. And he's essential because he knows me musically better than anyone. And as the harmonic comping role in the ensemble, he's got that ESP with me. He knows where I'm going, and he knows how to accompany it. James Genus on bass. That's a guy that I've been friends with for a long, long time, and it seems like every couple of years we're like, man, when are we going to play music together? You know, I think I've known him since '99, and we finally got around to playing some music. I had to hire him to play on my record, which luckily he was available to do. He's a busy guy. So we were fortunate to get him there, and it was really neat. In one brief rehearsal, we realized immediately that he and Roy and Lawrence Leathers, segue, were going to have a really good hookup, which, you know, we kind of knew would be the case. But those guys really played immediately well together, and Lawrence is a guy that I met with Ian, playing a few gigs around town, and I think there was one night in particular. It might have been at the old Perks gig.
That's
where,
a good bet.
Yeah, and there was a moment where I think it was he and Brian Charette, and we were kind of improvising together, and some things happened, and he had a real instinct for when to be dramatic and when to be patient.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me, and I knew that I wanted to record with him for sure. And you know, we're great friends, and he's a lot of fun and a great guy to have around. Always keeps the mood light in the studio. Obviously wanted saxophone on the record, and wanted to make sure that I was able to feature your alto sound that I'm a huge fan of, and but also you were essential to me as a producer as well, because it was my first album as a leader, and I needed to make sure someone could coach me along the way. So
Well, it didn't take very much, man.
well, we were fortunate to have a band of pros. Made it a lot easier in the studio. So we did eventually make the decision to record to 2-inch tape, which was really exciting, and it's neat to hear the difference in sound with all the digital recordings that are out there nowadays.
Yeah.
It's sort of the best of both worlds, because the work he does in this day and age, you have to be on top of what's current,
Yeah.
technology-wise, and he's able to bridge the gap between the two as well, which is impressive. He gave me a brief explanation about how he's able to do all that stuff, and I was like, well, slow down. But it's it was great to have all the technology and still be able to hit tape and get that warm sound of yesteryear.
He certainly knows like what mics to put on guys. I mean, if I remember correctly, you were playing through an RCA 77.
Yeah. Vintage ribbon, and then what did we?
I was playing through a Shure 315.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was also an RCA 77 on Lawrence. Like basically one mic for the drums.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear the drums on this album, because I am of the opinion that drums today tend to be over mic'd. Just basically too many mics, and then the panning gets all crazy, and there's a lot of ways to do it, and some of them very relevant in different styles, but to play a style of jazz that harkens back to the 50s, it feels right to keep it simple. There's the studio chatter that happens after the song finishes and the guys start talking and the mics pick it all up. There were definitely some interesting moments there. One in particular on the original Done Told Ya. Lawrence and James start to get into some heavy stuff towards the end, and as the final note finally rings out and the piano dampens, James Genius exclaims, "Take the L train!" And it was tempting to leave it on the record. Like, just let it roll. Like, let's leave that on there because it was pretty funny. And I'm like, I don't know if everyone's going to get it the same way. I finally said, you know what? Instead of trying to, let's make this masterpiece of conceptual art, I said, man, let's document me playing some tunes, because that's what I do day in and day out as a musician. I've been doing it for years,